welcome everybody to consultation days, which is like a normal day, but with more consulting. So today we're going to review the final. And the final isn't done yet. I'll let you know when it's done. Shouldn't be too long. So let's get going. I did read over all of your quiz responses from a few days ago and saw the questions that people had about different topics in the class. And we're going to go over some of those right now. Okay. All right, topic number 1. Valid, invalid, and sound. It's usually a thing that most people have trouble with. So to evaluate one of these types of questions, there's 2 questions you ask in order. Okay. First is, does the logic work? Second is, are the premises true? And what most people focus on is they do this one first, or they look at if the conclusion's true first, and that's wrong, right? The first thing you have to do is look at if the logic works, because if the logic doesn't work, it's invalid and you stop. That's it. If the logic does not work, you stop. It's invalid. Done. Okay. It's only after you know the logic works that you check to see if the premises are true. And so, for example, I could say something like this: all politicians are lizards. All right. Lizards are cold-blooded. Therefore, all politicians premise 1, premise 2, all politicians are cold-blooded. Now, what a lot of people will do is they'll look at this, well, that's clearly false. And they'll look at this, that's clearly false. And then they just say it's invalid. And that's the wrong mindset for approaching one of these problems. You can't do that. The first thing you should do is actually just switch out all of the words that can distract you with, like, X and Y, right? So if we switch this out, all X are Y, all Y are Z, therefore all X are Z. You can see that when you express it like this, like, it actually works, right? Does that make sense to you? All X are Y, all Y are Z. And you can even draw that using a Venn diagram, using set theory. All X are Y looks like this. All X are inside of Y. That doesn't mean that all Y are X, but all X are Y. And if all Y are Z, that means we can draw it like this. So all X are Z. You see that? Every single person inside of the set of X here, every spot inside of here is enclosed within Z. Okay? Doing Venn diagrams is a great way of figuring out the logic of things. They all tie together. Logic, set theory, fallacies, they all kind of mix together. Okay? Does that make sense? And so we can do some examples, but that's the main approach. And then after you've checked to see the logic works, because this argument is valid, and that's something that, like, blows students' minds. Like, what? How can it be valid? Politicians aren't lizards. Yeah, because that's not what valid means. Valid means the logic works. And you have to do that first. You have to do that before looking at the actual premises, okay? And so the second thing is, are the premises true? And they're clearly not, right? Joking aside, politicians are not lizard people, right? So it's a false premise. And so this argument, we would say, is valid, but not sound. Or valid for short. Okay? You guys understand? We can do some examples. We can do lots of examples if you want. Let's log in on. Make sure you get your capstone essay done. That's due in 5 days. 3 people have done it so far. So out of 90 people in this class, 3 people have done it early. I've got almost all the rest of the grading done in this class. I've been grinding several hours a night getting all the grading done. Okay, so quizzes. And I'll make the past finals visible for you. So final part 1, final 2020. Okay. Let's do this is hunt for valids. Do I not have any on this one? Amazing. Okay. Okay, here we go. All fish have gills. Sapphire is a fish. Sapphire died, unfortunately, since I wrote this test. He died about a month ago. Okay, so amethyst actually, but whatever. So all fish have gills. Sapphire is a fish. Sapphire has gills. All fish have gills. Sapphire is a fish. Therefore, sapphire has gills. Valid, invalid, or sound. All X are Y. Sapphire is an X. Therefore, sapphire is Y. Is that valid, invalid, or sound? Those of you in chat, there's only a few of you today, so you're going to have to pick up the slack from having more people online. Right? All X are Y. All fish have gills. Right, I'll even write it like that. Fish. All fish have gills. Okay. Sapphire is a fish. Therefore, sapphire has gills. What do you think? Can you tell what the answer is just by looking at it? Valid. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Valid. You can look at it like it has to. We don't know where sapphire is within the circle, but it doesn't matter where sapphire is within the circle. It's going to be within the set of all things that have gills. So, is it valid? Is it sound? What do you think? Is it true that all fish have gills? What about lungfish? Do lungfish have gills? By the way, whenever I ask a question like this on a final, I'm not expecting you to, like, you know, get into the science of things. Like, whenever I ask a question like this, it's not a trick question. It's true. Okay? You could probably find, you know, I don't know, some oddity somewhere, you know, but it's sound. Okay? And sapphire is, in fact, a fish. I'm telling you that it's true. Right? Trust me, bro. So sometimes, like, if you don't know, like, Pablo is, you know, a fish. Like, how do you know if Pablo is a fish? I'll tell you. You know. Okay. All right. Let's do another one. And feel free to comment on them. Sapphire could be the name of the fish. Yeah. That's why I'm telling you that it's true. Like, so you don't have to guess if the premise is true or not. All white cloud minnows have gills. Mango has gills. Ah, Mango just died too. It's so sad. It's like all of our best fish. The good ones die first. Mango's a weird looking fish. It was a guppy that had like this giant belly. Very, very friendly. We actually got along pretty well. Mango. Okay. So all white cloud minnows have gills. Mango has gills. Therefore, Mango is a white cloud minnow. Mango's actually not. Mango wasn't a jerk at all. I don't know why I put that in there. Okay. So, what do you think? All X are Y. Mango is Y. Therefore, Mango is X. All fish have gills. Mango has gills. Therefore, Mango is a fish. Mango could be a fish. I could have put this dot anywhere within the set here. It could be a fish. But it's not valid. It's not valid, Drew. This is an invalid argument. Because Mango could be here. Mango could be in the set of things that have gills that aren't fish. Right? We know that all fish have gills. And we know that Mango has gills, but that does not mean that Mango is a fish. Okay? So this is an invalid argument. And once an argument's invalid, you just stop. Like, it doesn't matter if the premises are true or not. Right? Now, if I had said that Mango could be a fish, yeah, that's possible. It could be a fish, could not be. Who knows? Okay. Affirming the consequent. Yeah, exactly. And when you see the set theory, like denying the antecedent and affirming the consequent, you can visually see them, right? All we know is that Mango is somewhere within the set of all things that have gills. We do not know for sure that Mango is a fish, right? Mango could be a scuba diver with gills. I don't know. Okay. Fernando, you have a... Do you see that? So like if I said that... Fernando does not have gills, right? Right. We'll just write F. So apparently I can't spell it. So if we know that Fernando does not have gills, can Fernando be a fish? All fish have gills. Fernando does not have gills. Therefore, what? All fish have gills. Fernando does not have gills. All fish have gills. Fernando does not have gills. Therefore, Fernando's not a fish. Yeah, and that is valid, right? Because no matter where we place Fernando outside of the set of things with gills, there's no place that a fish could be, right? So this is called modus tollens, right? Or modus tollens, right? And so when you know set theory, these logical arguments you can visualize them, if you want. So modus tollens says X implies Y, not Y, therefore not X, right? So if you are a fish, you have gills. Fernando does not have gills, therefore Fernando is not a fish. Exact same argument here, drawn using set theory, here using modus tollens. Okay? Makes sense? All cats have gills. Catfish are a type of cat. Therefore, catfish have gills. What do you think? I mean, it's in the name. Catfish. It must be a type of cat, right? It's a catfish. Catfishing. We got 4 people on chat. You guys are going to have to be talkative, because I'm just going to sit here and look at you. This is consultation hours, not lecturing hours. I could just sit here and just stare at you the entire time. What you got? Valid. Okay, all cats have gills. Catfish are a type of cat. Catfish have gills. All right. So this, we're switching out fish with cats. All cats have gills. A catfish is a cat, therefore cats have gills. This is valid. It is not sound. Very good. Yeah. Okay. Because, as it turns out, cats don't have gills, right? Again, I'm not somebody who splits hairs. Well, you know, there's a mad scientist once who gave gills to a cat. Like, no, I'm not interested in having those arguments. Okay. So yeah, this would be valid but not sound. Yeah. Just got back, just changing your OS. Cool. All right, and one more. Man, Ragnar is dead too. Man, so sad. Ragnar was a long surviving shrimp. Like, we had a shrimp apocalypse and all of our shrimp died. And so we were going to go put more shrimp into the tank, and then Ragnar pops out of the filter. Like, he hid inside of the filter when shrimp apocalypse happened. And then he popped back out. And we're like, dang, dude. That Ragnar lived a long time, actually, for a colored shrimp. Okay, cherry shrimp or something. All fish have gills. Ragnar Hairy Pants is not a fish. It's a shrimp. I don't think shrimp count as fish, right? I don't think so. So all fish have gills. Ragnar Hairy Pants is not a fish. Therefore, Ragnar Hairy Pants does not have gills. What messes it up is because the conclusion is right. My brain looks at the premises and sees it wrong, so it thinks invalid. Yeah, that's the mistake that everybody makes. And that's why, like, you sort of have to defocus your eyes and, like, eliminate the words and just replace them with X and Y. You know? And then then it'll become clear to you. Okay. So all fish have gills. Ragnar is not a fish. So Ragnar could be here, or Ragnar could be here. All we know is that Ragnar is in the complement, the set complement to fish. So Ragnar is somewhere outside of the fish circle. Okay? And so Ragnar could be a creature with gills. It could be a creature without gills. I didn't tell you in the problem what Ragnar Hairy Pants is, which is what Ragnar Lothbrok means, right? If you've ever seen the show Vikings, which is vaguely historical, Ragnar Lothbrok is the main character of the show Vikings, at least in the earlier seasons, and it means Ragnar Hairy Pants. So that was the name of our shrimp. Yeah, it's invalid, right? Because we cannot conclude that he doesn't have gills. He might, but he might not. Okay, so we can't conclude that. It's an invalid conclusion. Okay, so all right, so that was one. And then a lot of fallacies. We can go through some of the example finals. There's a lot of fallacies on these finals. I have a list of things that people were requesting. Set theory. Yeah, we can go over set theory. All right. So with set theory, oftentimes it helps to draw these things out visually. Here's A. Here's B. This area here is called the intersection of A and B, which you draw using the Wicket character from Croquet, I guess. And so what is A? What is B? I don't know. It could be anything. Let's make something up. A is Americans, because it's A for America. And B is people living in a country starting with B. Why not? Okay. So this set here, A, has 300 million people in it or so. However many Americans there are these days. I don't know. Right? And then B is the set of all people in the world right now who are living in a country starting with B. So how would you describe in English A intersect B? Like, phrasing in English, how would you describe A intersect B? All Americans living in a country that starts with B. Yeah. And what about Americans that also live in a country that starts with B? Exactly. Exactly. And so that's less than all Americans, right? Pretty obviously. You know, most Americans live in a country starting with U. Right. United States of America. The United States. What does it officially start with? That's actually America. America. The Americas. The New World. United States. We're not the United States, we're just United States. Okay. The United States. But the United States of America. Okay, so we start with the U. Okay. Yeah, because USA. Yeah, I was just curious if the was like officially part of the name. Yeah. Okay. So either way, I am in A, but I'm not in B. So I'm over here somewhere, right? But if I lived in Bangladesh, I'd be in this intersection area here. If I lived in Britain, which I don't think it's actually a country, Great Britain starts with a G. Brittany. If you're supporting the independence of the Duchy of Brittany. Okay, then you'd be here, right? And then if you're somebody who lives in Bangladesh but are not American, you're over here, right? So there's, you know, and then there's lots of people who live in, like, I don't know, Ukraine over here, right? That aren't in America or a country starting with B, certainly not in both. So they're over here, right? So they're living in what you might call the complement, right? So A union B is this whole area, either Americans or people living in a country starting with B, complement. So everybody who is not living in America, or everyone who's not an American and is also not living in a country starting with B. So like if you have your random Ukrainian here, they are in A union B complement. That little exponent C means complement. Okay. Yeah, so union means both. So if I said A union B, this means everybody in the world who is either American or living in a country starting with B. Okay. Make sense? So the union character kind of means like or, and the wicket character kind of means and the complement character kind of means not. And by kind of, I mean, yeah, kind of really does. Union doesn't include both A and B. It does. So, right. It includes everybody in A or in B or in both. Right? So A union B is, let me color it in. The red zone is A union B. You can either be in America or in a country starting with B, or both. And that's kind of what union means. Union means you group the two together. Okay. The and means you have to both be in America. You have to both be an American and be living in a country starting with B. And so that's the intersection. A intersect B is the green part, A union B is the red part, and then, I don't know what it's like a highlighter or something. White? It's the white zone, which is everything outside of it. That is the A union B complement. Alright, so So everything outside of these two circles is A union B complement. Everything that is not in either of the two groups. And so this ties in with like truth tables, the fallacies, the logic, and everything like intersects in this class, right? So let's do truth tables, I guess. That was a commonly requested thing. There are 3 basic truth tables, and then all other truth tables are kind of like composites of them. So your 3 basic logical operations are and, or, and not. And you can make every logical operation using one of these 3 things. And so and takes in 2 inputs and gives 1 output, x and y. I'm using computer science terms because I'm a computer science major. True, 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 false, false, true, false, false. These lines are bigger. So in order for and to be true, both x and y must be true. That's why it's called x and y. Because both x and y have to be true. Both sides have to be true for it to be true. All other answers are wrong or false. So if both x and y are true, x and y is true. I feel like I'm repeating myself. Repeating myself. Repeating myself. Repeating myself. Repeating myself. Yeah. For or, either or both can be true. Okay? True, 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 false, false, true, false, false. And so if either side is true, or both, the answer is true. And so we end up with true, 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 false. Yeah, very good. And then for not only takes a single operation, takes an x, returns the not of x. And logic, you'll see it written like that too. And so true becomes false, false becomes true. You reverse the polarity of the main deflector dish. And so there are your 3 basic truth tables. Now, what do you do for bigger truth tables? Well, what you do is you just work through one column at a time. Okay? So what does that mean? Well, let's say we have to figure out the truth table for x ANDed with not y. Okay? So we have 2 inputs, x and y. Scroll down. X, y. True, 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 false, false, true, false, false. Okay. And then we're going to just figure this whole thing out one little piece at a time. So it kind of means like this, right? Like this is going to happen before the whole thing. So we'll do the not y first. And so what we do is you work on one column at a time. And each column will have a set of truth in it. Okay? Not y involves just taking the value of y and knotting it. Like you're in Nottingham. Okay. I am the Sheriff of Nottingham. This is the kind of humor you guys get for showing up on consultation day. All right. So we did this part. Now we need to AND this part and this part. Okay. So x ANDed with not y, like that. And so in order to do this, to figure out what value should be in this column, you're going to look at 2 of the columns. For not, you only look at 1. For this, we only had to look at that one, right? So we just knotted each value, right? Press F for specs. Okay. So x ANDed with not y is going to look at the x column. See how it says x here? So we're going to look at the column corresponding to x. And we're going to look at the column corresponding to not y. And that's, how we do these things. And if you don't have not y figured out yet, well, you need to do not y first, right? That's how you can kind of figure out which order to do the columns in, is like, this requires us to have both x and not y figured out. I'm going to rewrite these symbols to look a little less garbagey. A lot of my students can't draw ampersands, which is kind of wild. I don't know. Okay. It's like they never played D&D or something. So, yeah, x requires this column to be filled out, and not y requires this column to be filled out. It's filled out, so now we can do it. So what we're going to do is just go through the ANDing of this value and this value. True ANDed with false is false. True ANDed with true is true. That's a horrible one. Okay. True ANDed with true is true. False ANDed with false is false. False ANDed with true is false. So we ended up with false, true, false, false, like you guys got. Okay. Let's do one more. Do 3. So we'll do x ANDed with y or with z. All right. So this one's going to have 3 variables, x, y, and z, as the British say. For I am the Sheriff of Nottingham. All right, x, y, and z. So for this one, we're going to have true, 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 false, true, false, true, true, false, false. False, true, true, false, true, false, 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 true, false, false, false. And I just need to extend these lines down. And there we go. It does get exponential. You double the number of rows every time you add a new variable. All right, so x ANDed with y. We have to do this one first because there's parentheses or something. Okay, so x ANDed with y. Let me pause the stream for a second. All right, let's do this. So you look at this, you're like, okay, we have to do this one before this one because there's parentheses around it, like, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally and stuff. So we'll do this one first. True and true is true. True and true is true. True and false is false. True and false is false. All of these have a false over here, so they're all just going to be false. Because in order for a true to be true, both sides have to be true. And so I'm looking at these things here, and they're all false. So it's just false down the line. Okay. Then for the next column, we're going to be doing x ANDed with y, ORed with z. And so we're going to be taking these values from here, and we're going to be taking these values from here. And so we're going to be ORing these 2 columns together here. Right. So true ORed with true is true. And so basically what I'm going to do is just look for a 1 on either side when you're doing an OR. OR is very easy to be true, and it's very hard to be true. Right? So, So the only time an OR is going to be false is when both of them are false, like this. Yep. And there is our answer. True, 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 false, true, false, true, false. And this is what programmers, I guess, use in theory to figure out what their programs are going to be doing. So, you know, your if statements aren't working right, you make a truth table and you run through all the possibilities, and you're like, I got a bug right there. You know, on its own, they don't really mean anything. They kind of look like garbage, I guess, but they're actually really useful, and they help you understand programming as well. Like I said, everything in this class ties together. The programming, the logic, social issues in computer science are the consequences of programming. Set theory ties in with logic, which ties in with truth tables, which ties in with programming, which ties in with social issues. It's all an integrated whole. All right. So, yeah, let's just run through the sample final. Binary representations and conversion. I don't know if we're going to really have questions like that on the final, so I'll just kind of ignore that. Deductive, inductive, abductive, fallacies. Yeah, yeah, a lot of requests for fallacies. So let's go through this. Okay, sample final. Honey, it's not just me who thinks we should start collecting samurai swords. It's common local opinion. According to who? Husband is right. I agree with the husband. Husband. Often the husband is right, and this is a case that is one of those cases. Those people aren't real. You're using a botnet. How dare you? It just happens a large group of anonymous individuals support my viewpoint by screaming it. He is right. Wife is wrong. Do they just follow you around everywhere? This is how I get promoted at work. Okay, so this is an ad populum, right? Appeal to popularity. You know, it is true that we should collect samurai swords because everyone agrees that we should collect samurai swords. Right? 24-hour ban campaign ribbon, 3-day ban campaign ribbon, 7-day ban campaign ribbon, 21-day ban campaign ribbon, 30-day ban campaign ribbon. So for those of you that have been in the military, you probably get the joke here. When you're in the military, if you serve well, you know, you'll get a ribbon, like if you were in Desert Storm, and then you attach it to your plate. Like you'll see generals with like a giant like plate of these things together. And so they're talking about corporate censorship here, right? So the fact that Facebook will ban people oftentimes for fairly innocuous stuff, right? Like my friend who posted this was banned for supporting Kyle Rittenhouse. You know, he didn't say, you know, we should murder people. He just posted something supporting him, and they banned him for 7 days for that. So that's corporate censorship. Okay. Another huge study found that no evidence that cell phones cause cancer. What was the World Health Organization thinking? I think they just got it backwards, huh? We'll take a look. Total cancer incidence, cell phone users. You're not. There's so many problems with that. Just to be safe, until I see more data, I'm gonna assume that cancer causes cell phones. There you go. So if you work for Fannie Mae, this is Fannie Mae logic right here. So which fallacy is this? Yeah, correlation is not causation. Exactly. Truth table, just did that. X ended with Y. True, false. Okay, correlation is not causation. Apple, banana, cantaloupe is set A. So there are 3 entities, 3 objects, 3 elements of set A. Apple, banana, cantaloupe. And set B has 3 elements as well, but different elements, banana, cantaloupe, and discord. And so is B a proper subset of A? Is every element in B in A? False. Homosexuality is not against nature. More than 500 species are known to practice same-sex coupling. Religion is against nature. No other animal practices it. So this is a naturalistic fallacy. We talked briefly about this one, which is the notion that because something is in nature, it is right. Well, you know, spiders chop off the heads of their mates, you know, so it's okay for humans. No. Naturalistic fallacy. Just because something's natural doesn't mean that it's moral. You know, there's a lot of things that, you know, animals do that we probably shouldn't. You know what I mean? So, not saying that, I'm just saying this argumentation here is invalid. Okay. So how do I convert to Judaism? How do I convert to Islam? How do I convert to Catholicism? How do I convert to PDF? Yeah, that's a good one. I'm laughing at my own test, okay? I'm sorry. It's been a while since I've seen this one. So, when was this? A year ago. Yeah. Okay. What makes this meme funny? Equivocation, right? So, so converting to a religion is different from converting to a PDF, right? So this is a equivocation fallacy that's quite funny. Person A, if I place my cell phone on the wireless charger for an hour, it will have a full charge. Person B, let me see your phone. Oh, it has a full charger. You must have put it on the wireless charger. What fallacy did person B make? If X, then Y. Y, therefore X. Let's just drop my coffee. If X, then Y, premise 1. Premise 2, Y is true. Premise, or conclusion, X. So this is a classic affirming the consequent fallacy. Because it's possible my phone was fully charged. Speaking of which, let's get that charged up there. Speaking of which, I need to charge my phone. I could have charged my phone using like the USB connection or something like that, right? So you don't have to just charge phones using wireless chargers unless you have my phone where the USB port is broken or it's loose, and so the thing, if I'm charging the thing on a cable, it constantly goes bloop, 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 bloop. So I just use wireless charging all the time on it. It's kind of annoying. The news is fake because so much of the news is fake. So, real quote apparently, but who knows. So what fallacy says? The news is fake because so much of the news is fake. Relatable. This is relatable, or my cell phone. Yeah, I probably should get a new cell phone, but I'm kind of waiting for the next generation to come out. I don't want, like, the current crop of cell phones all came out like at the end of last year, and I'm kind of like, let's see what the new generation brings before I buy a new cell phone. Circular reasoning, yeah, absolutely. X is true because X is true. Circular reasoning. Charles Chester, a network technical director at CNN, said in a secret recording, "Look at what we did. We got Trump out. I'm 100% going to say it, and I 100% believe it, that if it wasn't for CNN, I don't think Trump would have gotten voted out. Trump was, I don't know, like shaking his hand or whatever. We brought in like so many medical people to tell a story that like it was all speculation, that he was like neurologically damaged, that he was losing it, that he's unfit to, whatever. We were creating a story that we didn't know anything about." So what does this relate to of the topics we talked about, social issues? It's kind of related to Ipsy Dixit, right? Like, it's true, bro, just believe me. And what's funny to me is that, like, Fox is doing the exact same thing for Biden now. Like, every time I've listened to Fox in the last couple days, they've been talking about how Joe Biden is dementia and all the exact same things that CNN was saying about Trump, saying he has dementia and stuff like that. So, this is not algorithmic bias. There's no algorithm running here. This is manufacturing consent. So, basically, media. The manufacturing consent is how the media kind of, I don't want to say like manipulates society, but like you can kind of think of it that way. The universe is all Z. Okay, so we're talking about integers here. We got 1, 6, 7, and 10, and 2, 4, 6, and 8. What is the intersection of A and B, and what is the size of that intersection? The absolute value bars are size of a set. Okay, so how many elements are in both A and B? 8. 8 is not in both of them. I don't think. No. 1 is not in B. 1 is in A, it's not in B. 8 is in B, not in A. When we do intersection, you need to find the elements that are in both sides. It has to be both A and B. That's what intersection means. Not 1. 1 is not in B. Just 6. So the answer is 1. Yeah. Size is 1. I got you. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Size is 1 because there's one element in both of these, and so the size of the intersection is 1. And a lot of people will put 6 down, right? 6 is in both. Yeah, I know. But how many are in both? 1. Okay, so we got 1, 6, 7, and 10. And okay, what is the size of the union? So how many, if you take all the elements in B and add all the elements of A together and eliminate duplicates, because you can't have duplicates in a set, right? How many people you got? So we got 4 over here. We got 4 over here, but the answer is not 8. The answer is 7 because there's a duplicate. You can't add 6 twice because it's either in the set or not. And so you're going to have 7 as the answer. All right. World's first airplane ticket system. Sabre, yeah. Yeah, so basically what happened was the world's first airplane ticket reservation system was prioritizing their own airlines because it was made by American Airlines, and other airlines would get tossed at the bottom of the search results. So yeah, this would be algorithmic bias. It doesn't have to be like racism, right? There's a lot of ways that algorithms can be biased, right? It could be biased against women. It could be biased against people who live in rural countries. I remember back in the day, it's not as common anymore, where it was required to have a phone in your house to fill out a lot of online forms. Like you want to register with, Guitar Center or something online. you have to give us the phone number for your house. And I'm like, I don't have a phone. I have a cell phone. I don't have a phone in the house. And so there's a line for cell phone. That one's optional, but the one for the phone line in your house was mandatory. And I was just like, I guess I'll just put my cell phone in here. Well, if you try leaving it blank, it's like, no, you have to have a phone in your house. And it's like, but why? I'm just trying to buy a guitar, man. Like, I don't know. Okay. I think we should seize the assets of all companies in America because of the history of colonization. So person A is probably some sort of socialist. Person B, I think that natural rights are sacrosanct, and so doing so would be an immoral action. Person C, why don't we just seize half their assets? So this is actually a fallacy we didn't talk about in this class. This is an appeal to moderation. Person A, let's kill everybody. Person B, let's kill nobody. Person C splits the difference. Let's kill half the people, right? That's an argument to moderation. Just because something is in the middle does not mean that it's right. That said, I probably make this fallacy myself in my personal life more than any of the other ones, simply because what I found in philosophy is that if you've got a lot of philosophers who really think deeply about these questions, if you've got a group of them here and a group of them here, and they've really thought it through and worked out all the logical fallacies and things like that, there's probably a certain element of truth to both of them, right? Like if you're talking about arguments for God or arguments for dualism versus materialism, or if you're talking about arguments for consciousness, there's good arguments for all of the positions, and so finding some sort of moderate stance I find to be quite appealing, but it is in fact a fallacy to just kind of always try to split the difference on things. So that is called argument to moderation. These. If you want your communications with another person on the internet to be kept private, you need to use cryptography. I don't think we talked about that this semester. You said everyone has racial bias. Yes, everyone has implicit and racial biases. What sorts of races do you harbor racial biases against? Right? And so there's two fallacies here. One from Cotton, one from her. It's quite compact, right? So Cotton is making a tu quoque fallacy, right? So you're accusing me of racial biases. Well, what racial biases do you have, right? So classic the U2, not YouTube, the U2 fallacy, right? Tu quoque, right? And then the one that she's making is all or nothing, right? It's the same thing that CGP Grey was making in Humans Need Not Apply. This is happening. It's inevitable. All of these people are going to be out of jobs. 8 years later, we have more demand for trucker positions than ever, but at the same time, we haven't automated trucking almost at all now, so who knows what the future will hold. But yeah, all or nothing fallacy. Every single person, including a newborn baby, has, racial biases in it, right? Yeah, it's not ad populum. It's all or nothing. Yeah. Every single person, right? Okay, so a Crayola crayon box is capable of producing a rainbow of colors. Therefore, a single crayon can produce a rainbow of colors. Fallacy of that which is true of the whole must be true of the part. Fallacy of division. Yeah. The NASDAQ assumed that no stock would ever exceed $420,000. Berkshire Hathaway, which doesn't split as just a matter of principle, got above $420,000 a share. So the NASDAQ actually had to suspend trading because the computers actually would crash if they tried trading it. So, example 2, when talking about imposing new rules on corporations, Democrats will often use terms like new safety measures. Republicans call them job-killing regulations. So these are both examples of framing, but kind of in a different sense. So we talked a lot about this, which is using, how you define the debate oftentimes lets you win the debate, right? So do you want safety? Yeah, of course I want safety. Well, then you should, support Democrat safety measures, right? And then Republicans are you want to kill jobs? No, that sounds bad. Well, then you should support the Republican opposition to the job-killing regulations. And so that's what we talked a lot about with framing, but framing is also just your mental mindset. And so whoever it was that programmed the computers for the NASDAQ had this mindset like, well, I can't imagine anybody would ever trade at more than $420,000 a share. So they just, probably put that in as a limit or something, right? And so that was a mental frame they used that caused, the NASDAQ computers to crash, basically, right? So those are two different kinds of framing, but they're both framing. Okay. Suppose that you program a car to minimize total human suffering, even at the cost of the driver's life. If you're programming an autonomous vehicle, which ethical system is this? If you try to minimize total suffering, that is hedonism, ethical hedonism. Okay. It's a form of utilitarianism, a form of consequentialism. Every time I drink coffee, I become more alert. Yeah, very good. Every time I drink coffee, I become more alert. Therefore, since I want to become more alert, I will drink coffee now. What kind of reasoning is this? It's inductive reasoning, yeah. Based on my experiences with the past, every time I drink coffee, I become more alert. I want to become more alert, so I'm going to do this thing in the past that is the thing that I want. So that's inductive reasoning. Sure. So abductive reasoning is what we do when we weigh evidence for and against something, right? So inductive reasoning is reasoning from the past to the future. And it's inherently uncertain, right? It's possible that if I drink coffee right now, it's decaf and I'm not going to become alert. Or it's possible I'm just so tired, it won't help, right? That's inductive. Deductive reasoning is all the syllogisms and logic stuff. Abductive, which is the one that few people have heard of, and I could probably explain better, is weighing the evidence for and against something. So, for example, when a doctor evaluates a patient at a hospital, they typically use abductive reasoning. All right, so your pulse is 96, your temperature is 105 degrees, you have elevated respiration, and you're experiencing joint pain, and you can't eat red meat. Sounds to me like you got Lyme disease or something like that, right? So doctors sit there and they weigh all these different factors. They run blood tests, they check your pulse, they look at your pupil, breathing rate, all this kind of stuff, and they weigh all these factors, and then they got all these diseases floating out there, and they're like, yeah, it's probably that one. That's abductive reasoning. Okay, could be wrong. It's not like you're reasoning if X, then Y. That's how they tried programming computers originally. There were these things called expert systems back in the 80s and 90s that would try to diagnose patients. And so it'd say, like, if their pulse is over 90, then if their respiration is over 60, then, and they programmed like this giant branching tree of if statements. And what they found out was that, like, it would just like diagnose people with like random diseases. Like, oh yeah, you got gangrene, huh? Yeah, you got gangrene. It's what the expert system said. We interviewed several of Bruce Dickinson's childhood friends and found that most of them agreed he had short hair back then prior to joining Iron Maiden. But a few of them remembered him having long hair. Based on this evidence, we can conclude he did not have long hair until later in life. So this is abductive reasoning, right? We gathered a bunch of evidence. We got some evidence for, some evidence against. We weighed it on the balance of the evidence. We can conclude that he had short hair as a kid. That's abductive reasoning. Okay. Zuckerberg is a company started by Facebook is a company started by Mark Zuckerberg. Everything Mark Zuckerberg does is evil. Therefore, Facebook is an evil company. What sort of reasoning is this? It's deductive. Yeah. I wouldn't agree with it. I think it's a valid but unsound argument. I don't think everything Zuckerberg's done is evil. He donated a lot of money to the San Francisco hospitals, so I wouldn't say that was evil. It's like, So if you're in San Francisco and you get into an auto accident, then you get to go to the Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital. There you go. What color was Kearney's t-shirt? Aha. Well, if you made it all the way to the end here, I'll just tell you the answer. It was French Navy, which is a sort of purplish blue navy kind of color. That's going to be the hardest question. I'm giving you the answer. So, yeah, I don't know. Ultramarine blue. It's somewhere in the blue to, purple spectrum. I did have a lot of fun kind of screwing with you guys on that, though. So, if you can't troll your kids, your students, who can you troll? So that's the dark blue color. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, there's your answer. French Navy it is. All right. And so that is our review for today. Python. I might have like one question on Python. Maybe like how to make a for loop or something. I don't know. Probably not going to do anything on binary representations, theories of truth, truth tables, fallacies. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that basically covers everything. Theories of truth. I guess I didn't cover. What makes things true? Correspondence means it corresponds to reality. It is true that my guitar is black because, look, the guitar is black. That's correspondence theory. It's the most straightforward, obvious way of saying that something's true. It's true because reality is that way. Correspondence theory, commonly used in science. Coherence theory, commonly used in math. Something is true because it coheres with other things that are true. I have this axiom and this axiom and this axiom, and then I can prove that if these things are true, that this thing is true. That's coherence theory. It's also used in your brain. If you get a new fact and it doesn't match what's in your brain rejects it. But if it matches what's in your brain accepts it. And that's one of the reasons why people like watching media that agrees with their political beliefs, because they only get things that already agree with things they already agree with. If you watch news shows that are contrary to your political beliefs, it's painful because they're giving you facts and your brain's like, no, get out of here, And so it's actually a really valuable exercise if you're like a socialist to read libertarian websites. If you're a libertarian, it's useful to read socialist websites. If you're a Republican, watch Democrat news media, which is everything but Fox. If you're a Democrat, watch Fox, right? And it will hurt your brain. You're like, I don't like this, which is why people just sit in their comfortable little bubble and live in their comfortable little echo chamber, because they never have anything that threatens their worldview, because that's how our brains work. Our brains work on the coherence theory of truth. We want to accept facts that match it, facts that we have. And it's not good, in my opinion, at least for the brain part. For math, it's perfectly acceptable. Coherence consensus theory, something is true because everyone agrees it's true. This is very commonly used in definitions. So people agree on a common definition for a word, and when definitions change, people get angry because there's a group of people that want it to mean one thing, and a group of people who want it to mean another thing, and there's no way of resolving that conflict, really, honestly. There's just no way of resolving that. We're just going to keep using this definition. We're going to keep using this definition. And then people write essays using the words, and they mean different things, and people misinterpret them and get upset, and it's a real mess. But coherence theory, everybody agrees something is true, therefore it's true, is oftentimes called the ad populum fallacy. But if you believe in the coherence theory or the consensus theory of truth, then that's how truth is. Truth is just whatever people agree is true. And so a lot of people who are radical skeptics that truth even exists, they'll be like consensus theory, right? Because when we say something's true, it's just because we all kind of agree it's true. Murder is bad because we all kind of agree murder is bad. And so a lot of moral relativists are consensus theory of truth. Then you got Marxist theory of truth, which is that kind of there is no truth, right? All that matters is power. right? All that matters is serving the revolution. And the original form in Marxism is that which serves the revolution is true, that which opposes the revolution is false. Was there a nuclear meltdown in Chernobyl? Of course not. That would make communism look bad. So there is no meltdown in the Ukraine, right? And so that's the Marxist theory of truth. But nowadays, it doesn't just apply to Marxists. It applies to every political party, that I've seen, where basically what is true is that which serves our party. Like Republicans, you can't confirm a Supreme Court justice during an election year. That's wrong. So they refused to confirm Merrick Garland, Obama's last Supreme Court nominee. And then when Trump had an opening in the election year, of course it's okay. The people elected us, And so, there's no truth. It just is power, right? Like, we're going to get another Supreme Court justice. And sucks to be you if you're not on our team. So that's Marxist theory of truth. That which is true is that which, helps our political party, helps us out politically. All that matters is power. It's a very depressing theory, in my opinion, but very common in politics. Deflationary theory is there is no such thing as truth, also. Just agreement. If you say, oh yeah, that's true, you're just agreeing with somebody. That's all it means. When you say, is it true that 2 + 2 is 4? Yeah, I agree with that. There's no real philosophical question of truth. It's just like, it's an emotional state. And then the last one is pragmatic theory. Pragmatic theory is that which is true is that which benefits us. And so very similar to Marxist theory, but it's more egalitarian than that. And basically, pragmatic theory is oftentimes called like the American, like pragmatism in general is called like the American philosophy, because it was made by Americans, Charles Sanders Peirce and William James and other people like that. And the notion is like really, who cares? Like when you get down to the basic level of science, like who cares how it works? All that matters is that it does work, right? I don't care that it's true that, phlogiston exists, phlogiston doesn't exist. All I care about is that when I strike a match, a fire burns, I touch the fire to paper, the paper burns. I don't really need to get into mumbo jumbo detailed arguments about what is the essence of fire and stuff like that. All that matters is that it is true that when you strike a match, it lights up, and when you touch it to paper, it burns. That's truth. Truth is what works. Truth is what, is practical. Truth is that which, they say that which is beneficial to you. But really it's more like, look, if I need a fire, I'm going to strike a match, and it's going to burn, and that's true. Truth is what works. So that's the theories of truth, and that's it. So be on the lookout for the final going live in a little bit. It's not quite done yet, but it should be soon. So stay tuned, and it'll be up through midnight on Thursday. Don't wait till midnight on Thursday, because it'll be a hard deadline. If you start 10 minutes before Thursday, you're going to have a bad time. And you're going to be a sad panda. It's 20% of your grade. Don't forget to do this. Every year I have people forget to take the midterm or the final. Don't forget. It's important. It's 20% of your grade. You'll go from an A to a C if you forget the final. So please don't. Just take it as soon as it's available, in my opinion. Okay. So that is it for today. Thank you for everyone. You have 3 hours to do it once it started. Yeah. It should be ready. I don't want to give a timeline, but it's almost done. I just need to clean up some things. Peer reviews for the Capstone Essay assigned after the due date. Yeah, they are. I should have made the deadline earlier. Well, whatever. Just do the peer reviews the next day or something. I don't know. Just get them done. All right. So yeah, thank you all for the semester. This is going to be the last semester online for CSI 1. CSI 1 is going back in person in the fall. So it's been kind of a wild ride, wild experiment. I've got some of the last participation data to punch into Discord, and then that should be it. So have a great summer, and stay in touch. You're like, as you've seen probably on the gaming channel, we have alumni in here, gaming every night, hanging out, posting memes. You don't get kicked off of a Discord. Please stay. Everyone's welcome. Stuff like that. Okay. So thank you all. And that's it for the semester. Peace out.